Welcome back to my darkroom. Today we're going to talk about selenium toning. Selenium toning is one of the most common types of toning done in the darkroom. It's used for intensifying negatives, which we'll cover in a different video. But mostly it's used to increase the archival qualities of a print, as well as change the color or tone of the print. In today's experiment, what we're going to do is try a few different dilutions on a couple of different papers and a couple of different developers to see what the general effects are, and then we'll compare all of them at the end. Now, there are four major factors that go into a toning change. Mostly, it is the dilution of the toner. The more water added, the weaker the effect. The dilutions that I'm going to be using are 1 to 19, so 1 part toner to 19 parts water. That would be equivalent to 50 milliliters of toner to 950 milliliters of water to make a full liter. Then I'm going to use 1 to 9. That would be the equivalent of 100 milliliters to 900 milliliters water. So twice as much toner. And then we're going to go really strong, 1 to 3. That would be 250 milliliters of toner to 750 milliliters of water. Then there's time, the amount of time allowed to be in the toner. Now, I am only going to be doing 5 minutes for each, but the effects get deeper the longer that you allow it to go. It will eventually stop. Then there's the paper type. Cold tone papers and neutral tone papers tend to have less of a dramatic change in the same dilution as a warm tone paper. So warm tones tend to exhibit more color change, and we'll see how that affects when we do the warm tone prints today. Then chloride papers like azo, lodema, and Adox Lupex have an even stronger tone. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that to do today, so you'll just have to try that on your own. Now, I'm using Ilford Classic and Ilford Warm Tone, just like my other print comparisons. If you want to see a specific paper and a specific developer combination, you'll have to do that on your own. The fourth thing that can affect it is developer choice, but that's usually the least changing component, though it can have a little bit of an effect. Mostly dilution is where we're going to see a big change. So let's go ahead and try out some of the toners. I've already made a bunch of prints. We're going to see what the different dilutions do at 5 minutes a piece. Now, before we get to that, if you do want to help support this channel, you can get one of my t-shirts I've designed down in the link below, or if you're looking for a lab towel, maybe one that shows all the steps for C41 or E6, so you have a handy reminder as well as something to clean up spills. Here we have Ilford Classic in Dectal. We've got our untoned print, 1 to 19, 1 to 9, and 1 to 3. So intensity building up in color and tone. This has the slightly greenish color that Dectal produces. You don't really notice it till it's next to something more neutral. The 1 to 19 is pretty neutral in color. The 1 to 9 starts to get a little bit on the purple side. 1 to 3, there's really no difference between these two in colors, so it's pretty much maxed out on color change. The intensity, that is density in the shadows building with tone, this reads at its blackest point 2.0 on a reflection densitometer, and then the other three read at 2.16. So they do get a little deeper in tone. And you can see that a little bit. This area, which is a very dark gray, becomes almost but not quite black, but still holds the detail here. This area here, which is almost black, the detail begins to become obscured in those areas. Not quite fully obscured, but not as easily separated as in the original. Here's warm tone Ilford in Dectal. Vanilla print, no toning, 1 to 19, 1 to 9, 1 to 3. The intensification is about the same. It's a 2.1 or a 2.01 max density here, but in all the other three we reach a 2.12 to 2.16 depending on the print. The differences here between these two, the color does not appear to be changed, just a little bit more intensified blacks. In the 1 to 9, our mid to high tones remain virtually the same color as the untoned print, maybe a little bit of the green taken out, but our shadow and dark mid-tones are becoming very red brown in this area here. And then when we get to 1 to 3, the whole print has now changed to a very cool brown. And by cool, I mean brown with maybe a touch of a purplish hue to it. So not a bad color. This, not very pleasing with the split tone, but this, if you want that cool brown color, would definitely go for that. And then if you just want some intensification and archival properties without a lot of change, 1 to 19. Here's our Ilford Classic in my Amidol formula, ANSCO 113. Again, vanilla untoned print, 1 to 19, 1 to 9, 1 to 3. Again, virtually no color change between these two. As we saw in my comparison between the developer, there is a slightly different color to the print in general. It is a little bit warmer. Upon real close inspection, you can start to see a little bit of neutralization of the color here and very slight intensification, same amount as before. With the 1 to 9, our color becomes deeper, starting to get a little bit of that purple color. And here with 1 to 3, it's the same color as 1 to 9. A little bit purple, cool, but not much. However, the intensification increased even more. So these areas became much darker through here, and I'm losing my shadow detail in this area that's clearly separated here. So there's no benefit going to 1 to 3 because it starts to obscure the deep dark shadows. 1 to 9 ended up being the best ratio for color change and intensification. Here, mostly intensification, only a little color change. Last set, again, vanilla, no tone, 1 to 19, 1 to 9, 1 to 3. Similar to the warm tone in Dectal. Again, the color from the original is slightly different than the other developer. We saw that in my developer comparison. When we put it in 1 to 19, tiny bit of intensification, same amount as before, starting with a 2.0 density in the darkest part, going to about a 0.12, sorry, increase. Color change, slightly neutral. This is what I normally do for my prints because it's still a warm tone print, but a little less green than untoned. So this is my normal combination. 1 to 9, we start to see again that split tone effect where we get the reddish brown midtones and shadows, but our upper mid to highlight staying neutral. And then 1 to 3, we get that cool chocolate brown once again. It is, however, a little bit different. Here's the other, the Dectal, the same combination. It may be hard to see on screen, but here in person, it is, this is a little cooler than the Dectal Developer for the same paper and toner ratio. So that just goes to demonstrate how the developer can actually influence the color a little bit, but it is only a small amount. Mostly the paper showed a big difference by going from a little bit of tone to the split tone to the red with a stronger dilution. And then to go to another argument that I never really touched on before, and that is that Amidol somehow has deeper blacks than other developers. The shadow area, as I mentioned before, reads on my reflection densitometer a 2.0 density, and it reads the same 2.0 density regardless of the two developers, Dectal, Amidol, and also regardless of the two papers. So I think the whole idea that Amidol somehow creates a blacker black, I don't believe that at all. All right, and then just as a bonus, I thought I would show this. This is a set of print I did a long time ago, back in grad school, that shows Kodak Azo. This is their grade 3 paper. This is Azo and Amidol, the same formula I use now, untoned. This is the Amidol formula in Selenium at 1 to 9 for 5 minutes, and you can see it is a very chocolate brown color. This is Azo in GAF 135 Developer, and then 1 to 9. So it exhibits the split grade. The GAF 135 formula is a low contrast similar to Kodak Select All Soft, but it created this split tone, even though it's the same dilution as these other three, is split toned. So I've got the mid to high that are still neutral gray, and then my deeps, deep grays and blacks have become that chocolate brown. And then this is a Sprint Developer, and then also 1 to 9. And you can see that it became a cooler brown. So while this is a warm chocolate brown, this is more of a slightly cooler purplish brown. Just as an example to see what a chloride paper, since I had mentioned it before, how it tones, but also 3 different developers created 3 different effects on the same paper at the same dilution and toning time. And there we go, from virtually no change to significant amounts of change. Most of our variable, dilution. The stronger the solution, the more effect we're going to have. But, as we saw, warm tone papers tend to take the toner more than a neutral or cold tone paper. That's just because of the ratio of bromide to chlorobromide and how that tends to work out. So if you are looking to selenium tone, if you want a lot of change, use a strong dilution. If you only want the archival qualities of a selenium toner, then use a weaker dilution. 1 to 19 showed very little change. Now I know some people, when they use like a chloride paper, they'll use even weaker, 1 to 40 or 1 to 39, something like that. You can try that. It'll change the color just a little bit, but those papers tend to change tone very strongly. So be very careful with your timing there. And just as you saw me do, if you're going to tone, Have an untoned print in a tray of water next to you so you can compare the change. So if you start seeing a change you don't like, you can yank it out at that time. It also just helps to see what the changes are as you're going. So I hope that helped if you're thinking of selenium toning your prints. Get out there, see what combinations you get, and we will see you next time.